Okay, it's another very interesting time. Tumekutana tena. My name is Dr. Mlelwa na leo tunaenda kuendelea discussion yetu ya mada ya transport. Leo tutakuwa na discuss kuhusiana na the heart structure. We had a very good session yesterday discussing a little bit introduction regarding the heart, na kwa uchache sana kuhusiana na function za heart, heartbeat zake au rate zake zinakuaje na vitu kama hivyo, lakini leo naenda kudig deeper into the functions of the heart generally. Now without losing time, tuende moja kwa moja. Heart structure. Heart structure, I hope tumesoma form 2 biology and then you still remember kuhusiana na moyo kwamba una chambers, una valves, una major blood vessels zilizokuwa joined to the heart, but tunarudia tena kwa sababu baadhi ya vitu tunasoma in detail. Now kuhusiana na heart structure tutakuwa tunasoma kuhusiana na chambers zake, kuhusiana na valves zake, mambo ya circulation ya blood katika heart na vitu kama hivyo. Now the heart is surrounded by double walled and a tough sac called pericardium. Kwa hiyo imezungukwa na ukuta ambao una membrane mbili, yani kuna membrane ya ndani na membrane ya nje, ambazo pale katikati kuna fluid, na hiyo fluid maana yake itakuwa inaitwa jina pericardial fluid because the membranes they are called pericardium. Pericardium, cardium means heart, peri is just like you can say like outside of or aside of, yeah, kama hivyo, yani peri like peripheral, yeah, things like that. So the pericardium, pericardial fluid is the fluid which surrounds the heart, preventing it from the any shock or any vibrations which can lead to injury of the heart in any circumstances. Kwa hiyo tunachokisema ni kwamba moyo umezungukwa na membrane ambazo zinaitwa pericardium and is located within the fluid cavity known as pericardial cavity. So pericardium ni zile membrane and then hiyo cavity jina yake inaitwa pericardial cavity, ambayo ndani inakwenda fluid inaitwa pericardium. Pericardium ni fluid ambayo inakuwa iko I mean not pericardium, sasa inaitwa pericardial fluid. Sorry. So pericardium, the membranes, pericardial cavity is the name given to the wool cavity as a whole, and then inside we have the pericardial fluid. The superior end of the heart is the base. The superior end of the heart is the base, which is further attached to aorta. Kwa hiyo superior end ni kwamba hapa tunazungumzia anatomical position, kwamba moyo tukiweka katika anatomical position ukawa hivi, huku juu on the superior end, huku juu ndiko ambako kumekuwa attached different blood vessels on the superior end, au tuseme on the top, yeah, like that. Ndiko ambako ni the base, kumekuwa attached to the aorta. Huku juu zimeattach aorta, pulmonary arteries zimeattach huku juu, and then pulmonary veins pia zimeattach huku juu, as well as the vena cava as shown in this figure below, figure 1.1, which is here below. Now its inferior part is the apex, placed just above the diaphragm. So the superior part of the heart, I mean the inferior part of the heart is the apex, ambako hakuna blood vessel yote iliyo attach, hakuna blood vessel yoyote iliyo attach kwenye superior part hiyo ya I mean on the inferior part of the heart, no any blood vessel ambayo imeattach, na inaitwa tu ni apex. Apex ni kama nini wanaita, yani kama ncha, yeah, in a very clear language ni kama ncha. So tunachokisema ni kwamba about 2/3 of its mass, yani manake 2/3 ya uzito wa moyo 2/3 ni 2/3 ya uzito wa moyo. Katika theluthi tukigawa uzito wa moyo mara 3, 2/3, the 2/3 of mass to the left cavity, points to the left cavity, and the remaining 1/3 is to the right. Yani manake we can say the left side of the heart is thicker than the right side of the heart. And I think you still remember the reason behind kwa nini upande wa kushoto wa moyo ni mnene au ni more muscular. Ukiangalia it's made up of 4 chambers and 7 valves that regulate the normal flow of blood. Ina chamber 4 na valve 7 ambazo zina regulate normal flow of blood in the body. The pericardium produces serous fluid to lubricate the heart wall ambayo inaitwa pericardial fluid. Now tuangalie hii heart hapo ambayo unaiona hapo. Yeah, this is the structure of the heart. Sasa alichokuwa anaongelea alikuwa anasema kwamba kwa sababu unajua huu moyo sasa hapo umechorwa ni kwenye karatasi, sio moyo tuko nao mkononi. And always in biological diagrams na katika anatomical position kwenye michoro yote ya biology, upande ambao sisi kwa macho yetu as observer tunaona kuwa ni right, this is the left side. This is the left side. So my tablet kidogo inakuwa inasumbua umeme sometimes. Umeme unaotoka kwenye kompyuta unakuwa sio sufficient kuweza kutosha kwenye tablet yangu, so sometimes inaweza kawa inapelekea tatizo la kustakistaki, lakini najaribu kuona the best way to fix this problem, ikiwemo labda ku-upgrade my computer na vitu kama hivyo. Kwa hiyo as we continue, sio kila kipindi tunaona kina shida hiyo. Baadhi ya vipindi utavikuta viko tu clear, vinaandika vizuri. Sasa tunachokisema ni kwamba this is the left side of the heart and this is the right side of the heart. This is the right side, is the right side of the heart, right side of the heart. Now being the left and this being the right, you can see the left side ukuta uko more thick. And I think you still remember kwamba the left side of the heart pumps blood to the aorta, which distributes blood to all other parts of the body. And since aorta distributes blood to all other parts of the body, then we need more pressure. We need more pressure to pump this blood to all other parts of the body. But on the right side of the heart, it pumps blood to just the lungs. You see, the right side of the heart, it receives deoxygenated blood from the body, from all other parts of the body, and then they pass through this tricuspid valve, and then they are pumped to the heart through the pulmonary arteries. Pulmonary artery, the only arteries which passes or which transports deoxygenated blood. So because the right side of the heart just pumps blood to a nearby organ, which is the lungs, so they do not require such much of pressure. They do not require such much of pressure in order to pump this blood. But on the left side, we need a lot of pressure. Now we have not discussed much of this heart structure because we are going to discuss in detail more and more. You can see the chambers of the heart. These are the ventricles. The lower chambers, we call them the ventricle. This is the ventricle, and also this is the ventricle. This is atrium. Actually, it's atrium. Don't call it auricle, sababu auricle katika anatomy utaenda kusoma auricle na atrium ni vitu tofauti. Auricle, they are small chambers which are within the atrium. Zinakuweko like very small chambers zinakuweko ku. So the left atrium, the right atrium. So when we are saying the heart is made of 4 chambers, the 2 chambers on the right, which are right atrium and right ventricle. Also we have the left ventricle and left atrium. It's important for you to remember that the heart anavyokuwa mtoto mdogo inakuwa imeunganika. Hapo huo kuna tobo, kuna tundu linaunganisha kati ya right atrium na left atrium. huwa kuna tundu linaunganisha, linaitwa foramen ovale. Sasa hii foramen ovale, ikiwa mtoto huyu sasa amekuwa foramen ovale huwa ina seal, foramen ovale huwa ina seal, inajifunga katika mechanism zile za mtoto kuzaliwa. Ndio maana tenda kusoma baadaye kwenye fetal circulatory system kuhusiana na changes which occur to the fetal circulation during au after birth. Utaona kuna mambo ya mechanism za closing of foramen ovale na mambo ya fetal circulation. Lakini from there we have the tricuspid valve ambayo inakuwa boundary kati ya right atrium na right ventricle. We have bicuspid valve ambayo ni boundary kati ya left atrium na left ventricle. We have the semilunar valves ambazo ziko katika on the base of the major blood vessels. We have semilunar valve hapa mwanzoni mwa mshipa wa pulmonary artery unapoanza, tuna semilunar valve ambayo kazi yake ni kuzuia damu isi backflow, kama damu inaenda on the lungs isirudi nyuma. And then we have also semilunar valve katika base ya aorta, kazi yake pia ni ile ile ya kuzuia the backflow of blood ili blood isiweze kurudi nyuma. So yeah, these are the some of the parts ambazo tumediscuss, but we will go to discuss other parts later and later. Kwa hiyo kama tulivyosema kwamba kuna serous fluid ambayo inazunguka moyo ambayo ni fluid, kazi yake ni ku prevent shock. It's also responsible for preventing friction between the heart and the organs surrounding it. That is the function of that fluid called the pericardium fluid. In addition, the pericardium has the role of holding the heart firmly in its position and maintaining the hollow space for its expanding. Kwa pericardium ina kazi ya kuweza kumaintain hollow space katika heart au between the heart and the lungs, which are the other organs surrounding the heart. Why? It's because the heart need to expand and contract. Yani moyo huo unadunda, moyo haukai tu kama hivi, moyo unadunda ki. Sasa sio ki kama kiki ya mziki, but una expand and then una contract. That's the mechanism the heart uses to pump blood. So there must be a space between the heart and the other organs to allow it to expand and then contract. So the pericardium has two layers. Pericardium has two layers. The first one is the visceral layer or the visceral pericardium that cover the outside of the heart, while the parietal layer forms a sac around the outside of the pericardial cavity. Manake visceral layer ina cover outside of the heart, iko kwa ndani, kwa sababu tunakuwa tuna moyo tunakuwa na moyo kama huu hapa, and then baada ya kuwa na moyo, tunavojadili kuhusiana na visceral na parietal nini pericardium, ni kwamba kuna pericardium ambayo inakuwa sasa imezunguka moyo hapa, we call it the visceral. Kama unavyojua visceral always means inside, and then we have the parietal ambayo ni kuambia like peripheral, iko hivi, and between this visceral pericardium and the parietal pericardium we have the pericardial fluid here on the inside of these two layers. Kwa hiyo kiufupi hayo ni maelezo yanayohusu pericardium. Kiufupi ni hayo. Now let's discuss a little bit regarding the heart walls. When we are discussing regarding the heart walls, hapa hatujadili kwamba kuna ukuta mwingine unaozunguka moyo, isipokuwa tunauzungumzia moyo wenyewe, kwamba moyo una chambers. Now tukizungumzia chamber ni kama vyumba vinakuwa vina ukuta. We cannot discuss of the rooms without discussing the walls which separate the rooms. So the chambers of the heart, they are separated by walls and valves. So now we are discussing the heart walls, and then we will go to discuss heart chambers. We'll go to discuss the heart valves, and then we'll go to discuss the circulation of blood in the heart. Now regarding the heart walls, tukazungumzia kuta zinazozunguka moyo au kuta za moyo. The walls of the heart consist of three layers, namely the epicardium, the myocardium, and the endocardium. Epi means above, the epi above, epicardium, the layer above or outside of the heart. The myo means muscles. Myocardium, myo originating from myoid, muscles. Yeah, myocardium, this is the muscular layer. And the endo means inside. After the muscles inside, we have a layer which is made up of different features. Now, the epicardium or the visceral is the outermost layer of the heart. Epicardium, epi means above. Epithelial. Epicardium is the layer outside of the heart. It is thin layer of cellus membrane, which lubricates and protects the outside part of the heart. Yani kifupi ni kwamba epicardium ya moyo ni kitu kile kile, na ukisema visceral pericardium, katika pericardium inakuwa ni pericardium ya ndani, lakini katika structure ya moyo inakuwa ni epicardium. Just below epicardium is the second layer called myocardium. Chini ya epicardium kuna myocardium. That is much thicker, ni nene than epicardium, ni nene kuliko epicardium. It's muscular layer, ni layer ambayo imetengenezwa na muscles. Myocardium, muscular layer of the heart wall which contains the heart or cardiac muscle tissue. So cardiac muscle tissue zimekuwa au ziko ndani ya myocardium. The cardiac muscle tissue ziko ndani ya myocardium. Myocardium comprises the majority of thickness and mass of the heart wall to enhance the pumping of blood. The atria have a thin myocardium. Atria, myocardium yake ni ndogo because they do not need to pump blood far. They only pump blood to the ventricle. In contrast, ventricles have a very thick myocardium because they have to pump blood to the lungs and throughout the body. Naona to the lungs in right ventricle, and then this is throughout the body is the function of left ventricle. Now, the same reason explaining why the right side of the heart has less myocardium in its wall than the left side. The left side has to pump blood through the entire body via the systemic circulation. Unaona, while the right side is supposed to pump blood to the lungs via pulmonary circulation. The third and last layer is the endocardium au endocardium. Tukisema endocardium mwingine endocardium. Okay, the third and last layer is the endocardium, which is found just below the myocardium. Inakuwa iko chini ya myocardium. It is thin, ni layer ambayo ni nyembamba, simple squamous epithelial layer. I think you remember the simple squamous epithelium. Actually, ukisikia squamous means flat, so it's made up of the flat cells. The simple squamous, simple means one layer, squamous means flat. So this is the layer made of the flat epithelial cells with only a single layer, simple squamous epithelium layer, which cover the parts inside the heart, ambayo ina cover part mbalimbali zo ndani ya moyo. Now let's move to the heart chambers. Moyo una vyumba na chambers. Yeah, the heart it's made up of 4 chambers. Hiyo najua from our basic form 2 biology. It's made up of 4 chambers. These are the right and left atria. Singular the atrium. The atria is plural. Singular is atrium. Singular. Yeah, I remember my English teacher, my O-level English teacher, he used to tell us that don't say singular, say singular. Singular. Singular is like a Bena or Sukuma language, which you have preferred mostly to pronounce. So right and left ventricle, right and left ventricles is in chambers za chini za moyo. Now the atria are present in the upper part of the heart. The right atrium is involved in receiving, inapokea deoxygenated blood from the body cells. Compared to the ventricles, atria are smaller chambers and have thin or less muscular walls. The two valves which separate the right and left atrial chamber from ventricles are known as the atrioventricular valves. This is the generalized name, atrioventricular valves, lakini ni valve ambazo zina majina yake specific, sio kusema tu atrioventricular valves ndio umemaliza. No, they have their specific name. So the left atrium at the bicuspid valve, while the right atrium at the tricuspid valve. Left atrium in a bicuspid valve, right atrium in a tricuspid valve. Left atrium as tricuspid valve. Okay, hivyo hizo ni tofauti kati ya hizi atrioventricular valves, the left na right. Left inakuwa na bicuspid, right tricuspid. And the word bicuspid or tricuspid, the word cuspid, this cuspid, it stands for like we can say like tongues. You know, these valves, they are made up of things like tongues, which closes and opens. And as we know kwamba ulimi unapinda. So the bicuspid valve is made up of, we can say, 2 tongues. And then tricuspid valve is made up of 3 tongues. So it is simply like that. We can say kwamba ni kwa sababu hiyo, kwa sababu bicuspid imetengenezwa na 2 tongues, tricuspid imetengenezwa na 3 tongues. 2 tongues, 3 tongues. Huo ndo utofauti kati ya hizi valve mbili, lakini zote zinafanya kazi ambayo inakaribiana na zinafanana. Atria are the receiving chambers, hence they are connected to the blood veins which carry blood to the heart. Naona, kwa hiyo atria zinapokea damu, whether inatoka kwenye mwili, whether inatoka kwenye lungs, ila atria ndizo ambazo zinapokea. Kwa atria, they are connected to the blood chambers ambazo atria, they are connected to the blood vessel ambazo zinarudisha blood kuja kwenye heart. Unaona, the ventricle, they are pumping chambers. Ventricles, on the other hand, are chambers found in the lower part of the heart. They are responsible for pumping oxygenated blood into all organs and cells of the, actually CO2 oxygenated blood. Hata deoxygenated blood inakuwa pumped kwenda kwenye heart kupita kwenye ventricles. Again, this is the structure of the heart, but this diagram tries to show us the muscles. Yeah, you can see this, the epicardium. I don't see the labeling, it's here. Okay, let I change color so that you can see my mouse. The labeling is here below, epicardium. Epicardium is here. Yeah, that's the epicardium. And then after the epicardium, we have the myocardium, which here in between is made up of muscles. The myocardium is made up of muscles. Yeah. After the myocardium, we have the endocardium, made up of the simple squamous epithelium, a single layer of flat cells. Yeah, from there unaweza kuona tuna valves mbalimbali ikiwemo the mitral valve or the bicuspid valve, jina nyingine hiyo mitral bicuspid valve. We have the tricuspid valve ambayo iko hapa. This is our tricuspid valve. And then we have hii unaona imeandikwa hapa fossa ovalis. Fossa ovalis hii hapa, this is the scar ambayo inatokana na foramen ovale. Nilikwambia mtoto unapokuwa mdogo kwa sababu damu huwa haiendi kwenye lungs, the blood tend to bypass, mapafu yake yanakuwa hajafanya kazi bado, anafanya gaseous exchange kupitia placenta. Kwa damu huwa ina bypass kutoka kwenye right atrium kwenda kwenye left atrium, ina bypass kupitia tundu inaitwa foramen ovale. Lakini mtoto anavyozaliwa hii foramen ovale inatakiwa ifunge. Okay, we have a pulmonary semilunar valve, and then we have aortic semilunar valves. Hizi ni valve zinavyozuia backflow of blood. Blood kisha kwa pumped kuingia whether kwenye pulmonary artery au kwenye aorta ili isirudi nyuma tena. Na ndani ya moyo kuna manyuzi nyuzi, unaweza kaona yanaitwa trabecular canal, irregular muscle ridges, yani ni nini, milima ya misuli ndani ya moyo, na ina kazi yake hiyo kuweza kuhakikisha muscle za moyo na valves zinajishika vizuri. Unaweza ukaona pia kwa mfano hii tricuspid valve imeshikwa na kitu kinaitwa coda tendineae. Okay, these are the biological terminologies. Coda tendineae. Sasa they are held by the papillary muscle. Naona hizi papillary muscle, papillary muscle ni hizi kuchini. Sasa unaweza kuona hivi vyote sasa kazi yake ni kuhakikisha valves zinafanya kazi vizuri. Unaweza kuona hii ni papillary muscle, hizi ndo wanakuonyesha sasa papillary muscle hizi hapa. These are the papillary muscle and then these are the coda, we call them the coda tendineae, you see. So all of these kazi yake ni ku make sure kwamba the heart inafanya kazi vizuri. We cannot discuss in detail of everything of this kwa sababu still una level nyingine ya kusoma biology. Utakuja chuo utasoma anatomy, utasoma the physiology of the heart functioning, most often the anatomy, the histology of the heart, histology unasoma tissue, utasoma heart structure, utaenda kuisoma cardiac muscle in detail. However, si unasoma lakini sio in detail sana kama ambavyo unaweza kuja kusoma katika university level. Yeah. So hapa wanaendelea kuelezea kuhusiana na ventricles kwamba they are larger and stronger blood pumping chamber that sends blood out of the heart. Like atria, valves called semilunar valves are also separating ventricle chamber from aorta. Semilunar valves, kuna aortic na kuna pulmonary. Semilunar valves, they separate the ventricle chambers from the aorta and pulmonary artery. The semilunar valves are either pulmonary valves or aortic valve. Ventricle are connected to the arteries because these vessels carry blood away from the heart. So ventricles zimekuwa connected to the arteries, the major artery which is aorta, and also another artery which is pulmonary artery carrying blood to the heart. Yeah, from there let's discuss regarding the heart valves ambazo tumezigusia huko juu na kazi zake. Yeah, we have the atrioventricular and semilunar valves. We have two major groups of valves, atrioventricular and semilunar valves. The atrioventricular, they are valves separating atrium and ventricles. And then the semilunar valves, they are valves separating the ventricles with the blood vessels. You see, atrioventricular valves are positioned in the middle of the heart between the atria and the ventricle. Ziko kati ya atria na ventricle. Their role is to allow the blood to flow from atria down into the two ventricle chamber. Blood ina flow kutoka kwenye atria down kwenda kwenye two ventricle chamber. The atrioventricular valves present on the right side is called tricuspid. Iliyoko kulia inaitwa tricuspid. This because it consists of three cusps or flaps. Ndio maana nikwambieni kama ulimi, flaps. It consists of three flaps that tend to prevent or allow blood to pass through. The atrioventricular valves present on the left is called the tricuspid valve or mitral valve because it has two flaps. Also, we have the coda tendineae, are strings that attach both the tricuspid and bicuspid valves to the ventricular side. These strings, they are just like strings, but actually they are not strings. It's called nakamba. So because of their structure, they are compared with the strings. These strings tend to pull on the atrioventricular valves in order to prevent them from folding backward, thereby allowing blood to regurgitate. To regurgitate ni flow backward, the backflowing of blood inaitwa jina yake regurgitate. So regurgitation is the process in which blood flows in the opposite direction from normal. This occurs when chorda tendineae close the valve to block the normal direction. Hiyo inatokea ikiwa this occurs when chorda tendineae close the valve to block the normal direction. Ikiwa chorda tendineae whether zime close the valve ku block normal direction of flow of blood au zimeshindwa ku close the valve, because in some of the circumstances we needed to close the valve in order to allow the normal flow, na kwenye some of the circumstances we need to open the valve. Kwa mfano, when the blood is pumped from the ventricle to the lungs, then the valve need to close in order the blood should not go back to the atrium and it should be pumped to the heart or to the all other parts of the body. So in this case, if the valve they fail to be closed, that means the normal flow of blood it have failed. Now tunasema kwamba during this process the ventricles contract and the atrioventricular valves take a parachute. Ventricular valves take a parachute shape structure with the chorda tendineae acting as the rope to hold the parachute, thus pushing the blood to the opposite direction. Yeah. Kwa mazingira mengine ambayo chorda tendineae inakuwa kama parachute, chorda tendineae zinaishika valve kama parachute, and then blood inaingia. Ni case inatakiwa zifunge valve, basi zinaachia ili valve iweze close for the normal blood flow. Semilunar valves are named so because they are crescent moon shaped cups. Tukisema crescent ni shape fulani kama ya sickle cell. I don't know, yeah, it's like that way. That's what we can call crescent. They are crescent moon shaped cups. They are located at the point where semilunar, lunar ni moon, mwezi ndio naitwa moon, lunar mwezi. So semilunar means a half moon. They are located at the point where the pulmonary artery and the aorta leaves the heart. Pulmonary artery pamoja na aorta zinaondoka kwenye moyo, au they carry blood away from the heart. The semilunar valves on the right side of the heart is called the pulmonary valve, while the valve on the left side of the heart is called the aortic valve. The pulmonary valve is named so because it prevents the blood to flow back from the pulmonary trunk to the right ventricle. The aortic valve is named so because it prevents the ejecting blood present in the aorta from flowing back into the left ventricle chamber. The semilunar valves are smaller than atrioventricular valves, hence do not have chorda tendineae to hold them in place. However, their cusps have cup shapes for catching ejecting blood. Zimekaa kama vikombe ili kuweza kushika damu inayorudi isirudi, endelee kwenda mbele, and for generating blood pressure that prompt closes it. Kwa iko kwa ajili ya kugenerate pia heart pressure, blood pressure ambayo inaziclose, zinakuwa closed, na blood inavyotaka kurudi, unaona inakutana na mageti ya hizi valves na hatimaye zina close. Unaona blood flow through the heart, namna ambavyo damu inakuwa inapita au inazunguka katika moyo. The flow of blood through the heart starts when deoxygenated blood is returning from the body into the heart. Tunaielezea kwa kuangalia damu ile ambayo inakuwa deoxygenated inavyokuwa inaingia kwenye moyo, kwamba Deoxygenated blood inayotoka kwenye maeneo mbalimbali ya mwili inavyorudi ndani ya moyo inapita kwenye superior na inferior vena cava na zinaingia kupitia right atrium. Circulation yetu sisi tunaanza kuielezea hapo. Zinaingia kwenye right atrium. Zikishaingia kwenye right atrium, manake right atrium itaingia, itapokea damu. Baada ya hapo zitapita hizi damu kwenye tricuspid valve, zitaingia kwenye right ventricle. And simply ni kwamba zikishaingia kwenye right ventricle, this is deoxygenated blood. So right ventricle itapump ile blood iende kwenye lungs ili iweze kuwa oxygenated. Unaona, so right ventricle itapump damu itaenda kwenye lungs. Kutoka kwenye lungs, kutoka kwenye heart itapita kwenye pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery, they are the only arteries zinazopitisha deoxygenated blood. Baada ya hapo zikienda kwenye lungs zitarudi kupitia pulmonary veins, the only veins zinazopitisha oxygenated blood. Pulmonary veins zitarudisha damu na hii damu itaingia kwenye left atrium, baadaye itaingia kwenye left ventricle. Kiingia kwenye left ventricle itaipump kwenda kwenye all other parts of the body. So simply like that. So from there the blood enters the heart through the right atrium. Hii damu inayotoka kwenye vena cava, inferior and superior vena cava, inaingia kupitia right atrium. Then it will be pumped through the tricuspid valves into the right ventricle. Unaona, blood kutoka kwenye right ventricle, circulation yenyewe kifupi ni blood inaingia kisha ingia, this is the right atrium, blood itaingia hapa, this is the deoxygenated blood from the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Ikiingia hapa itapita tricuspid valve, itafika hapa kwenye right ventricle. Right ventricle itaipump blood through the semilunar valve, pulmonary semilunar valve, kwenda kwenye nini? Kwenda kwenye lungs kupitia pulmonary artery. Unaona, blood kwenye lungs, kisha kwenye lungs itakuwa oxygenated, itarudi kupitia pulmonary vein, only vein ambayo ina transport nini? Oxygenated blood. Itarudi kupitia pulmonary vein, itaingia kwenye left atrium. Left atrium itapita bicuspid valve, itaingia kwenye left ventricle. Shaingia left ventricle itapump kupitia kwenye nini? Hizi aortic semilunar valve kwenda kwenye aorta and then to all other parts of the body, ambako ikishatumika itarudi tena kupitia superior and inferior vena cava. So then the blood is pumped through the semilunar valves into the pulmonary artery. Inakuwa pumped into kupitia semilunar valves kwenda kwenye pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery carries blood to the lungs to release the carbon dioxide and absorb oxygen. Ili blood ikapoteze carbon dioxide iweze kuabsorb oxygen. After oxygenation, the blood will return from the lungs to the heart through the pulmonary vein. Simply like that. Finally, the blood will enter the heart again through the left atrium. Now, this will then contract to pump blood via the bicuspid valve to the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, the blood will be pumped through the aortic semilunar valves into the aorta, and then the aorta will then distribute blood into artery through systemic circulation until the blood returns to the heart via the vena cava to restart the cycle again. Yeah, let's have a discussion on the heart sounds and the cardiac output before we are finalizing this session. Heart sound ni nini? Hizi ni sauti zinazokuwa zinasikika kwenye moyo. Bila shaka wewe ukitulia, whether ukiwa umepata hatari fulani, umekimbia baadaye umeenda umetulia, unaweza kusikia moyo unalia du 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 du. Yeah, there are some of the sounds which are heard by the heart. Now, what are the origin of these sounds? Hizi sounds zinatokana nini? Zinatokana actually na valve mbalimbali zinazokuwa zinafunga na ujumla wa ile flow ya blood, kwa sababu blood inakuwa inasukumwa. Kitu ikisukumwa kama maji, unaweza kualia kasikia analia kwenye bomba maji, kwa sababu yamesukumwa na pressure fulani. So nasema the sound of the normal heartbeat are known as loop and dub. The loop and dup. loop, 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 loop. They are caused by blood pushing on the atrioventricular and the semilunar valves. The loop is the first sound to come, and it takes a relatively longer period than the dub. The loop, loop, loop. Now, it's caused by the closing of the atrioventricular valves to initiate ventricular systole. And to initiate ventricular systole. We are going to discuss later soon regarding the ventricular systole and diastole, but the heart has the times to contract and to dilate. I mean, to dilate means to allow blood to enter, and then to contract is to pump blood. So hii loop sound inakuwa caused by closing of atrioventricular valves to initiate ventricular systole. Ventricular systole ni contraction ya ventricle. Remember, when the ventricle they contract, we must close atrioventricular valves in order to prevent the backflow of blood into the atrium. Ventricles zinavyokuwa zina contract, lazima tufunge zile valve zinazopeleka damu, zinazoruhusu damu itoke kwenye atrium kuingia kwenye ventricle, lazima tuziclose. Kwa nini tunaziclose? Tusipoziclose, manake damu itaanza kurudi kupita kurudi kwenye atrioventricular valves, kurudi tena kwenye nini? Kwenye atrium. So because we need the ventricle to contract, we need to push blood whether to the lungs or to all other parts of the body. What we should do is that lazima tufunge atrioventricular valves ili tuweze kupush blood na iweze kwenda kwenye outside of the heart, isirudi tena kwenye atrium. So that is the loop sound. And then the dub, on the other hand, is shorter and have the sharper sound than the loop. It is the result of the closing of the semilunar valves. The loop, it is caused by the closing of semilunar valves after the completion of ventricular systole. Manake moyo ukishamaliza contract na kupush blood outside of the heart to other parts of the body, then these valves they can contract to prevent blood isirudi tena kwenye ventricle. Manake zina contract damu isirudi tena kwenye ventricle. For a normal function heart, these two sound repeating in a pattern of loop, loop, pause function. That means loop, 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 loop. Yeah, like that way. Any other sounds apart from these is an indicator of the heart problem, such as valve leakage. Yeah, ni hivyo. Cardiac output. What is the cardiac output? In several areas unaweza kusikia terminology ya cardiac output, na ukifika pia university utasoma cardiac output, pia utafanya calculation za cardiac output. Kiufupi, cardiac output is the term used to describe volume of blood pumped by the heart in 1 minute. Volume of blood pumped by the heart in 1 minute. Kwa dakika moja. Kwa dakika moja moyo umepump blood yenye volume gani? And it's calculated from the following equation. Cardiac output is equal to stroke volume times heart rate. Stroke volume actually ni volume ambayo inakuwa pumped with 1 beat, kwamba ukipiga beat moja ya damu ina pump volume gani, inaitwa stroke volume. Halafu heart rate kama unavyojua ni moyo unapiga mapigo mangapi kwa dakika. Manake tukichukua volume inayokuwa pumped kwenye one heartbeat tukazidisha na heart rate ambayo ni mapigo mangapi kwa dakika, tunaenda kupata cardiac output. Sababu tutachukua volume inayokuwa pumped tutazidisha na namba ya mapigo ili tupate total volume inayokuwa pumped per minute. So the value of cardiac output is expressed in liter per minute. In equation, stroke volume denotes the amount of blood pumped into aorta in each ventricular systole. kila ventricle inavyokuwa ina contract au kila pigo la moyo, volume gani ya blood inakuwa pumped kwenda kwenye aorta, kwa sababu actually here we are talking the volume of blood pumped by the heart to all other parts of the body, not to the lungs. So in each ventricular systole, in each ventricular contraction, how much volume of blood is pumped to aorta? It's normally measured in milliliters. Heart rate is the number of heartbeats per minute. So for a healthier person with an average of 70 kilograms, the cardiac output is around 5 liters per minute, with an assumption that the heart rate is 70 beats per minute. Kama tukisema heart rate ni 70 beats per minute and stroke volume is 70 milliliter, 70 mils. Kwa hiyo 70 mils ukizidisha mara 70 unakupata hiyo 5,000. I don't know. I think 70 beats per minute. I think this should be, it is 70 mils. I don't know how comes 7 times 7. Oh yeah, okay. It is 49. Then it's 4,900, which is approximately to 5 liter. Cardiac output is an effective indicator of whether or not the heart can meet oxygen and nutrient demand of the body. Kwa katika kipimo cha kujua moyo huu, je, kweli ni mzima, unaweza ukapump blood kwenda kwenye organs na kupeleka chakula kinachohitajika, tunapima kupitia cardiac output. Finally, function of the heart. Function of the heart wewe mwenyewe unazijua. The primary function of the heart is to pump blood in order to transport oxygen, nutrient, and other material in the body. The presence of two types of blood vessels, the vein and arteries, facilitates this function. It pumps the deoxygenated blood through the pulmonary artery to the lungs for oxygenation, and then after that, baada ya oxygenation hiyo blood ikirudi tena kwenye moyo before pumping it again as oxygenated blood via arteries to the body cells and tissues. The pumping mechanism of the heart is made possible by coordination of the number of parts such as its chamber and valves. Kuna nervous impulse ambazo zina control moyo, zinazokuwa zinapelekea moyo uweze kucontract na kufanya kazi inavyotakiwa. The four chambers that are present in this organ takes in and distributes both the oxygen and deoxygenated blood. Oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. These chambers are associated with veins and arteries which take in pumped blood and transports it to the destination ambayo inakuwa inatakiwa. Now in the coming session we start discussing regarding the cardiac cycle and the myogenic nature of the heart, ukiwa ni mwendelezo wetu wa discussion ya heart. Cardiac cycle na discuss kuhusiana na mzunguko wa moyo katika ufanyaji kazi wake, jinsi ambavyo atria huwa zina contract, kwanza zina dilate kupokea damu. Hiyo ni phase ya kwanza, atria diastolic phase au atria diastole phase, zina dilate, zinapokea blood, and then atria zina contract. Zikicontract zinapeleka damu kwenye ventricle zina dilate kwanza, zinaanza na ventricular diastole, zina dilate. Baada ya kudilate zinapokea damu, baadaye zina